thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to the boosters for having me give my little speech tonight. So they gave me a couple of questions to answer about my experience at Osceola and athletics. How do I manage being a student and an athlete? I always put my studies before my extracurriculars. Most coaches, especially Eagleson, who's on the board, agree that you are a student first and then an athlete. I also found that when I'm in a sport and I tend to be busier, that I can stick to a schedule and I become more productive, so I have less time to slack. And as my father always says, idle hands are the devil's workshop, so we should always be busy doing something. Some advice I would give to underclassmen taking up a sport: pick a sport that you would really enjoy. Don't pick, like, say, basketball because your father was all-star in basketball when he was in high school, but pick cross country because you love to run, and do what you're passionate about. Don't ever be afraid to try a new sport. I never thought about being on the golf team or the wrestling team when I was going into high school, but the football team didn't work out and I didn't make the soccer team, so I took up those two sports. A big part of my success is parental support. Even as a senior now and being able to drive for 2 years, I always still had to depend on my parents to drive me to both practices, meets, anything I need to be. And they always put my athletics before their own schedules, and they never denied me any opportunity of sports because I couldn't get a ride. My mom has been at most of, if not all of my sporting events. She's encouraged me every step of the way and has always told me how proud she was of me for being out there, and I thank her for that every day. If I would have the choice to continue sports in college, I would definitely take it up. I would love to continue my track career in college. Ever since I've known what the decathlon was, I knew it was for me, and I've been pursuing it, and like how Miss George said that I was the AAU national qualifier for the decathlon. I always had a dream of going to the Olympics and representing America in the sport that I love, but if I could just do track and field in college, that would be enough for me, because I love being a part of a team and a family, and I love to show the best of what my school has to offer. As for the teachers at Osceola, I found it was very important to have good relationships with them. For almost all of my teachers, I've had great relations, and for 3 in particular, they've been very motivating for me and have always been there for me. It was Mr. Robinson, my calculus teacher, Mr. Yarbrough for US history, and Miss Ferg for physics. I could always go to these teachers and talk to them about everything, and they would encourage me to do whatever I felt I was best at. Likewise with my coaches, especially Coach Hill and Coach Somali are the same way. They both taught me a lot about life, and recently Coach Hill has been talking to me a lot about colleges and what to look for in college, and I really appreciate that. And I usually repay my teachers for their time for being their comedy relief, just always lightening the mood. They asked me who my role models are, and I responded with my brother and my father. Growing up, I was really close with my brother, and I always wanted to be just like him when I grew up. He was always there for my sister, my great brother, and he was always there for my mother as a helper. He's also been my protector. He's helped me twice while I've choked on bacon, and yeah, those are great stories. And he's saved me from drowning a couple times, probably one too many. But after he left for college, I kind of like lost that role model, and then I found that in my father. We always had our bond between sports and movies that we always loved, but I was his protege for movie lines, but I think it's safe to say that the student has become the master. Over my 4 years in high school, we've worked on projects together, and I've helped him at his school volunteering, and I see the impact he has on countless people every day, and I just want to be able to have that same impact just as him. And then to finish up tonight, I have 4 pieces of advice that I've learned through my high school career that should just be applied to life and not even just sports. The first one, surround yourself with good people. A great person once told me you should surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you and you bring out the best in them. The second point is set high goals. Ever since 2nd grade, I found out what the University of Notre Dame was, and I knew that was a school that I wanted to go to. And so ever since 2nd grade, I've been studying and planning on going to Notre Dame, and I applied, and I find out March whether I get accepted or not. But even if I don't, since I set my goals so high that I got into other prestigious schools just as well, and how they always say, if you shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you land among the stars. So always set your goals high. The third point is don't be afraid to try something new and branch out. When I was coming into high school, I always had that idea that I'd play 3 sports all 4 years and just be the total jock, full package. And then, so then last year I joined theater just because I've heard people say it was fun. And it was a great program. And then this year I joined chorus, and I just wish I would have started freshman year with those 2. So always want to try something new, and if it doesn't work out, then you still learn stuff about yourself. And the fourth, and probably most important, is be yourself. You are you for a reason. As Oscar Wilde once said, be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. So, thank you.